staying with your feel-good breakfast show, Expresso on S3. Let's open up to some learning this morning. The last thing a child needs, Graham, and you'll agree to this, when starting at a new school in a new province, for example, is to be bullied and made to feel like an outcast. Yet that's exactly what our Miss South Africa 2020 Shudufhadzo Musiḓa experienced when she was a child. And she is now sharing this story in a brand new children's book. It's called Shudu Finds Her Magic, in which she gives hope to children who have been victims of bullying.
Yeah, and Shudu is now joining us via video call to share more about this exciting highlight and achievement, one of many at the moment. So let's give her a very warm Expresso welcome. Shudu, welcome back. So good to connect with you again. First of all, how are you during these crazy times? How have you been keeping?
I've been keeping afloat. I'm good. How are you guys?
Shudu, you're fantastic. Thanks so much for making the time. Now, the ability to build confidence during your formative years is crucial, and bullying is incredibly destructive of that process. But what experiences of bullying did you have as a child, and how did you find that had an impact on you?
So as you said earlier, I moved to a new school when I was 9, and when I got there, I was immediately made to feel like I was an outcast. I could barely speak any of their languages there because I came from a small village in Venda, and that seemed to be the reason why I had a target on my back. And the one thing that children want is to just fit in and feel like they belong, you know? And that's exactly what I wanted, but it just got worse. It turned into 7 years of bullying until I moved schools when I was in grade 9, beginning of grade 9, and I moved to Johannesburg. But those years were just terrible. I remember I got to a point where I was an extrovert, like I was a proper extrovert. When I was growing up with the Fiabia Papa, like that was me. But when over the years from grade 3 up to grade 9, I found myself losing my sparkle, my magic, and I became such an introvert. I kept to myself because I just didn't want to give them reason to hurt me anymore.
That is heartbreaking to know that you went through that, but I think more so to know that so many young people, children, are going through that. You have said that no one should have to go through what you went through. What difference would having a book like this have made to you when you were a child? And how are you hoping that it's going to help to empower children who get a hold of it today?
I had a conversation with a psychologist friend of mine, and we were speaking about how kids experience mental health struggles from a young age, but they just don't have a name for it. I feel like having a book like this would have made me be easy on myself, because I was wondering why I was always so anxious, why I felt the way that I did, why I felt lack of self-love, and so many other things. But if I could put a name to it, if I knew that it was not my fault, if I knew that I could speak to someone about it and get the help that I needed, then life could have been completely different. Yes, eventually I got the help that I needed, but I was 19 when I got help. It was many years later, because you never know what that bullying does to you, what it does, especially in your formative years, you know, like you grow up with that thing that you're not good enough, where you just want to hide in the shadows because you just feel like if you put yourself out there, people are going to hurt you, people are going to laugh at you for failing if you are going to fail, so you never try at anything. But then I finally started seeing a psychologist, and I want that for kids, not for them to necessarily see a psychologist, but then to be able to identify their mental health struggles and be able to speak to someone about it. When they're being bullied, I want them to be able to speak to their parents, their teachers, and people around them, you know, because kids need safe spaces and to be able to identify when they're struggling, especially with their mental health. And I believe that that's the way to destigmatize mental health in our society, by educating from a young age.
Yeah, completely. Just speak to someone.
And you've made this a mission of yours since you became Miss South Africa. Shining the spotlight on mental health issues has been so important to you. Tell us more about your hashtag Mindful Mondays Instagram live sessions, which I absolutely love. I mean, they've been a great platform for people to engage with you on these important matters, but let's hear more about it.
So Mindful Mondays, so the book Mindful Mondays and all the work that I've been doing is basically what I said on the night that I won Miss South Africa, that I want to start a mindful movement. So the first step to that, I realized, okay, I'm a South Africa, we can't really travel around because of COVID, okay, we can't really move, but how do we get the message across? How do we educate on mental health, the issues of accessibility and affordability in this country? So if we can bring the information to the people, if we can bring the experts to the people and give them the resources that they need to get help, a lot of people's lives could be saved. So I started Mindful Mondays in partnership with the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. Basically, we bring in experts every single week and we discuss various mental health topics. And if they've got questions to ask, if there's always something that they've always wanted to ask a psychologist, it's there. If they have symptoms, the psychologist can help them identify it, self-help tips as well. And also just having resources where people that are struggling can call, like the SADC helpline. So for me, it was about helping people identify mental health, helping people be comfortable with the conversations around mental health, but also just to destigmatize it as a whole, to move it from being a taboo subject to one that's normalized in our societies. Because the biggest thing about mental health is that it's called a silent killer because no one speaks about it, because they're too scared of being judged. And then one psychologist said, speak until you're heard, which basically goes back to the messaging of the book, speak until you're heard. But then we need to be able to build a society that helps people or gives people the platform to be able to speak and be heard.
Yeah,
and we want people
shame
to
them, yeah.
absolutely not shamed, but also not have to speak so many times before they're heard. A society that hears you when you speak the first time around. But you've done such great work in that space, Shudu. But another real highlight, a big one, I think that we've all seen recently is you graduating from Wits University with your honours in international relations. Yes,
done.
Queen. Congratulations. Why is education so important to you?
Education is so important to me because even though my grandparents really, they didn't have an education, they made sure that their children got the education that they needed. The last thing that my late grandmother wished before she passed away, because I took a gap year. She's like, make sure Abi goes to school. She told my mother this, make sure Abi goes to school. The following year, I decided to go get my degree, but then I realized that I wasn't doing it for her. She wanted me to do it for myself. And just being knowledgeable and just wanting to change the world, you can only do that when you have a powerful tool of knowledge and education in your hand. So with me, I want to be of service to the world. I want to work in the humanitarian space where I help give aid to people in need, but also equip them with the necessary skills to be able to help themselves. African solutions to African problems, but making sure that Africans are active participants of the change they want to see on their continent. So that was quite important to me, which is why I studied what I studied, and I wrote my thesis on something relating to that.
Queen.
And you are loving it. Thank you so much for the levels that you're operating on. I think most importantly for me, the fact that you are destigmatizing that conversation with children so that by the time they are adults, they are comfortable embracing and talking about their feelings. That in itself, if you just achieve that, you are winning. But you're doing so much more, and we appreciate and we love you. And it's just so good to see your beautiful face. Shudu, thank you so much for joining us this morning, man. So good to see you looking so happy and healthy and clearly thriving in your role. So well done.
Thank you so much, Graham. Thank you so much, Teresa.
Oh, stunning, stunning queen that.
She uses our names.
Oh,
she's just so good.
She's just, you want to have her around all the time. Shudu Finds Musiḓa's new book. It's called Shudu Finds Her Magic. Has been translated into 6 of our national official languages. I mean, that is truly brilliant. And it's available for purchase from all the leading online and book retailers. Go get it.